Welcome to this in-depth explainer. If you're hunting for pet product suppliers, you already know the supply chain landscape out there is incredibly vertical and fragmented. Today, we're stepping into the shoes of a professional procurement manager. We are going to look exactly at how the pros evaluate the absolute top-tier pet suppliers in 2026. We'll unpack the specific techniques you need to audit production capacity, ensure bulletproof compliance, and actually build real partnerships with China's manufacturing giants. Okay, let's dive into this because this single idea completely flips the foundational logic of sourcing. Working with China's top giants is no longer just about, verifying if a factory actually exists. In 2026, you're not just looking for a partner. You are fiercely competing for time on their production lines. It's a total game changer. So here is the workflow we'll be covering today. First, the 2026 pet supply chain landscape. Second, the top 8 suppliers and their category matrix. Third, and this is the core of it all, the capacity and lead time audit. Fourth, the required compliance and sampling protocols. And finally, tackling the real challenges of sourcing from these giants. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 2026 pet supply chain landscape and its regional hubs. Understanding these geographic ecosystems is really the bedrock of your procurement efficiency. In China, extreme specialization is everything. You absolutely have to know where to go for what. Take Zhejiang, for example. This covers Hangzhou, Wenzhou, and Ningbo. This region is literally the global pet accessory capital. If you need textiles, plastics, or hardware, this is your spot. On the flip side, Shandong, specifically Yantai and Liaocheng, is a massive pet food powerhouse, which makes sense because it's right next to agricultural raw materials and export-grade poultry hubs. But what if you're developing smart water fountains or IoT devices? Well, then you got to pivot to the tech corridor of Guangdong and Shanghai. Hit the nail on the head with your geography, and you are already halfway to a successful sourcing strategy. Moving right along to Section 2, the top 8 and the category matrix. This is where we look at strategic grouping. And this brilliantly illustrates just how diverse the players at the very top of the pyramid really are. Like, if you're a bulk wholesale buyer, Tianyuan Pet is your go-to. They have a massive SKU library, especially for soft goods and beds. But say you're focused on hardware. Yunfei Pet, down in Wenzhou's Pet Town, completely dominates in leash and collar materials. Looking at the food giants, China Pet Foods is perfect for importers who need incredibly strict international certifications, while Gamble Pet Group has just mind-blowing bulk capacity for dry and freeze-dried foods. If you're an e-commerce seller focused on lifestyle design, PetStar is a top choice for eco-fabrics. Over in the tech corridor, PETKIT is the absolute gold standard for smart hardware innovation, while PetJC leans into minimalist tech solutions. And finally, Inguang has carved out a super specific niche in precision hardware for professional grooming tools. The big takeaway here, you can't just pick a big name out of a hat. You have to align your specific category needs with their core advantages. Now that we've established who these giants are, let's shift gears. We need to look exactly at how a professional procurement manager actually goes about auditing them in the real world. Which brings us to Section 3. This is the absolute core of the evaluation, the capacity and lead time audit. It's all about securing your spot. So the crucial point here, and honestly the most jaw-dropping number we're going to look at today, is 90%. Because these suppliers are the best of the best, producing for global mega brands, they are routinely running at 90% capacity. This reality has to completely change your RFQ, your request for quotation strategy. You aren't asking, can you make my product? You're asking, do you actually have the empty space on your line to squeeze me in? Because capacity is that tight, your RFQ absolutely must hit on a couple of specific things. Number 1, dedicated production lines. You need to ask point blank if they have specific lines carved out for export or OEM orders, or if you're going to be fighting for space with their own domestic brands. Number 2, you got to know their peak season windows. For instance, if you're sourcing winter pet clothes or beds from Zhejiang factories, you need to know they get booked up 4 to 6 months in advance. If you don't ask these questions up front, your orders are definitely getting sidelined. Let's move to Section 4, required compliance and sampling protocols. These are the non-negotiable 2026 standards. You literally have to verify that they hold the full alphabet soup of certifications for your target market. For the US, that means FDA and AAFCO for food, and UL or FCC for electronics. Hitting the EU, you're looking for REACH for textiles, CE or RHOS for tech, and BRC for food safety. But pay close attention to sustainability here. In 2026, eco-friendly fabrics aren't a nice-to-have. They are a strict buyer requirement. If you are sourcing from top Jiangyan players like Tianyan or PetStar, demanding to see their GRS or Global Recycled Standard certification is absolutely crucial. Once the paperwork clears, we jump into the golden sample protocol. And a professional audit means testing goes way beyond just looking at the physical product. If you're buying smart tech from PetKit or PetJC, your sampling protocol has to include a rigorous software stress test. You have to guarantee their app won't crash when flooded with data. For food from Gamble or China Pet Foods, you've got to send those samples to a third-party lab for independent nutritional analysis. That is the only way to ensure the protein and fat ratios in your bulk order will match the sample perfectly. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, tackling giant sourcing challenges, and specifically the harsh reality for smaller buyers. If you want to customize products with these industrial giants, here is a pretty tough pill to swallow. The minimum order quantity, or MOQ, for a single SKU is usually sitting at 500 to 1,000 plus units. There's just no way around it. Unless you're buying off-the-shelf stock in tiny batches of 10 to 50 from a designated B2B distributor, you really need serious volume to even earn a seat at the negotiating table for custom OEM work. Beyond those sky-high MOQs, you've got to brace yourself for some friction points. First up, price rigidity. These are publicly listed market leaders. They literally do not have the wiggle room of a small workshop. Then there's the standard payment terms. Expect a 30% deposit with the remaining 70% paid against the bill of lading. New buyers are simply not getting open credit terms. And honestly, communication can be tough. Unless you're a massive account like Petco, your business is probably getting handed off to a junior rep. So what's the solution? For complex custom projects, seasoned procurement managers use local sourcing agents. They are the ones on the ground maintaining that daily pressure to keep your production schedule on track. I want to leave you with this question to chew on. In a landscape dominated by highly specialized giants operating at 90% capacity, is your current procurement strategy actually securing a true partner, or are you just standing at the back of the line? Applying the workflow we unpack today, the capacity audits, the strict compliance checks, the extreme sampling, that is how you cut to the front of the line in 2026. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.